Hello and welcome everyone to Everyday Eternal number 105, your favorite most deceptively named bi-weekly legacy podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our brand new Patreon, Bill Schlichting. Thank you so much for supporting the running of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Callum. Hey man, how's it going? How are you doing? I got some messages that people missed you.
Oh, yeah, I'm very good. I missed the last one. That's my first one I've missed since joining. I missed it dearly. I was like, I feel something empty in my life. I didn't get to chat shit.
No, seriously, but when I play leagues, I actually get a lot of feedback on our episodes just from playing people in leagues, and they tell me whether they like the. Well, actually, they don't tell me if they don't like the episode, so I guess there's some confirmation bias.
They're just like, yeah, that last episode was the best one yet. It didn't have that bloody English guy on it.
Yeah, but seriously, some people actually say that they enjoyed the episode, but they actually missed Callum, and I was like, I wanted to forward that to you.
That's very kind. I didn't know that. Oh.
But you're back and you're celebrating the English victories all across, actually not all across Europe. You've been playing just in Wembley and once
it's coming
in
home.
Rome.
Well, it is home, isn't it? I was having this very deep discussion. So are we allowed to chant "It's coming home" if we're actually now playing back in London?
And for those who are actually, I guess I should have mentioned the context. This is the European Football Championships. We just call it the Euro, where even people like Callum, who probably aren't into football for all I know, are turning into vicious supporter of the English crown.
I've been a staunch supporter of England in every single football game for all of my life, and it's my favourite thing in the world. Definitely didn't start with the last 2 or 3 matches. And jokes aside, I do follow the Euros and the World Cup especially. Because they are really fun. And now I'm going to the pub to see Spain, Italy tomorrow, and then going to a bigger pub to see the game on Wednesday. And then on the coming weekend, I've got lots of plans and a friend visiting from out of London to be here all weekend. And I'm like, yeah, we can do all these things. We're going to the bars Friday and Saturday. Don't worry, we've got all these plans. But Sunday, if England's in the final, we have to go to a pub to watch it.
You think you're going to take it? That would be your biggest success in...
Yeah, we haven't let a goal in
66,
so far.
Basically.
It's clean sheets at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard people say that Pickford is basically one of the best keepers in the world, and I was like, whoa.
Well,
let's slow down there.
Because I don't really follow football at all, so I've never heard of him before the event, and then a friend was saying actually he's hit and miss, he's not been great at the team he usually plays in, but this event he's just been outstanding, so... And the whole team has looked good. So
I mean, that's basically how it works for England, right? You get a goalkeeper, you use him for one tournament, he makes 2 big mistakes, and then you get a new one.
I guess so, yeah. they're like the drummers of bands. The drummer dies, and you just get a new drummer. It doesn't matter. No one notices.
Who plays the drums in your band?
A guy called Jessel.
And how long has he been around?
Well, the thing is, he actually organises all the extreme metal gigs in London as well, so we would notice, I think. We wouldn't have any gigs to play. So, yeah. Awesome, man. What about you? What have you been up to? What have you been doing the last, month since we caught up, it feels like?
Yeah. I mean, tourism is coming back. I feel like I've been saying that every other podcast, but basically every other week, things are getting bigger and bigger, and I might have mentioned it. I actually talked to my boss. She was like, because we have this thing that's called short working, Kurzarbeit, which means you only work X% of your usual 40 hours or something a week. So she was like, Julian, maybe we need to have you on the regular schedule again. And she said maybe you need to start working again. And I was like, whoa. What do you think I've been doing for the last 6 months or something? And no, but she fully understood. It's just I do stuff that doesn't really interact with what she does. Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is I talked to my boss that I actually need somebody to support me, I guess, while I'm brewing legacy decklists at work. No, seriously, but things have really picked up. And my favorite story that I actually put in the show notes is I talked to my colleague, to my friend in Kenya who's running the hotel, and he told me about the latest trend in Safari. And I mean, you can see it in the show notes, but people at home, in their car, at the gym, wherever you are, you will never guess unless you know.
Give them a minute. Give them a minute. What could it be?
They will never, that's just it's impossible to know, because I even didn't believe it until, I didn't see it, but I've heard about it from various sources.
Is it seeing tigers?
Yeah, you wish. That's even you need really deep pockets to see tigers in Kenya.
I told you, I'll come and see tigers in one of your safaris, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the cash, we can maybe make it work. And yeah, no, but seriously, what I'm talking about is safari fucking skydiving.
What does that entail?
I was like, is it what it sounds like it is? So basically, the way it works is you pick your national park, they put you in a private charter plane, they fly you out to the national park. I don't know how high these fly, I guess a couple kilometers. And then you just jump out with a parachute and you skydive down into the national park. And then they have somebody to help you, right? You're not all in your, but you, I guess, way to break the immersion, I guess, at this point. But seriously, you skydive out, you have somebody to pull the parachute, and then you land inside the safari park. And I mean, the whole idea is that you get this like, oh my God, I'm James Bond feeling, I skydive into my safari, and then like there's somebody on the ground already waiting for you, and they are picking you up and taking you on your safari on your first game drive, and then in the evening you arrive at your safari lodge. And I think that's actually the coolest thing, because there's going to be other people in the lodge and they're going to be like, hey, how did you come here? Did you like fly, or did you do a road transfer? It's like, no, I just went skydiving and I happened to land here, and yeah, here I am.
Or they'll see someone flying out the sky, like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, not another person we have to like look after and feed. God, stop. And it's just like loads of people falling out the fly, like flies or ants just falling out the sky, like, oh my God.
If you arrive by car, you're like the unique one. Everybody's just like skydiving.
Oh God,
but
you're normal.
You know what would be really kick ass? If the park was only, or if the lodge was only accessible by skydiving, if there was literally no road leading into it.
Then you'd have to like skydive all the food and stuff in.
Can you imagine how expensive that would be?
Well, you'd have to like make a list of like what's really vital. So you'd start with the most vital things like a cube and stuff, and then you'd get onto water and then food and stuff like that. And you'd eventually get there. You'd have to drop in big hampers of cubes, I think.
And then I guess I have no idea how you would get out. You would probably just like go cross country something.
You would just have to stay there in cube. It actually sounds perfect. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah. I've been talking about this thing, and I'm always just like half joking that I want to put together the Legacy or like the Magic Eternal Safari. How Wizards used to have that thing where they do the Magic cruise or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, cruise ships, you don't do that anymore. I guess that would be like pretty bad PR if Wizards did that again. But they could do the Legacy Safari. It's like all outside, outdoors and stuff,
Well, where's your hotel again?
In Kenya on the north coast. It's called Watamu.
Watamu. Okay. Well, GP Watamu.
You know how many people live in Watamu? Like, I don't know.
Well,
that would be the smallest town to ever host a GP. That would be hilarious.
That'd be amazing, I'm sure. Well, host in a hotel. Get like people would travel for it.
Yeah, we can host a couple hundred. Let's do that. I'm down.
Cool. I'll make it.
But yeah, until then, I guess
Julian is offering 95% off all Safari deals for patrons. He's paying out of his own pocket as well. He's so kind. He just wants to see us all have a great time and succeed. He's willing to just pay for everyone, basically.
It would be actually something, right? I go to the Safari companies and I'm like, hey, I'm going to bring you 100 people. And they're going to be like, oh, awesome. And then they send me the invoices and I'm never to be seen again. So I can make a couple $1,000, and then
it's
run
the perfect
away.
business model. You used to just sell things and then don't supply it. We had a meeting today at work and we were like, how do we were trying to work out how we can have customers buying stuff but like less in the shop because we need more space and so less showroom and stuff. And we're like, just sell them stuff and don't actually give it to them. We'll make loads of profit. You don't even need to buy stock. Then we don't need a showroom. We don't need anything. Have
you ever heard about drop shipping?
I have heard of that thing, yeah. We do it
That's basically
sometimes.
the thing, right?
Yeah.
Where you sell stuff and you get somebody else to fulfill the order.
Yeah. We do that with like 100 grand mixing desks. But then last year we had one that was like tried to be delivered to someone with a crane or something and it almost broke and never again. It was an absolute nightmare.
Awesome. So let's move forward into what's going on in the world of Legacy, because at least in Europe this week and the previous week as well, the first two big Legacy events of the year have actually been held in paper. I think there might have been smaller ones in Italy before, but those two, the Four Seasons at the Park in Bologna and the Eternal Rise Again event, they attracted, I think, 120 players. And we had a field reporter on the ground, I want to say. We had our friend Tom de Decker from Belgium, who attended both those events, supplied a lot of information and also like pictures to our Discord. Tom, thank you so much for that. But before we move into that, we actually have a listener question. I'm so sorry. Kai Savatari sent one of those, and we sent out a call for questions, and I think only Kai responded.
Nope, I've added 2 while we're talking.
Oh,
I see. I'm just
you
so
just,
on
like,
it.
make them up?
Multitasking. I'm just like, making sure we get them in. I thought they were good questions, so don't worry. I'm on the ball.
There's also 2 more on our Discord in the listener channels. Oh, we have 5 listener questions. Oh, this is like a proper segment now.
Well, yeah, we can follow it along then.
Okay, let's start with the most important question, because that one is submitted by Kai.
Okay.
Kai is saying, always listening to your lovely voices while sweating my ass off at the gym.
I'm always thinking of him sweating his ass off while we're talking, so there we go.
Yeah. Kai's question: how often do you resleeve your decks? Honest answers. Do you resleeve them every month, or are you one of those maniacs who only does it once per decade and they get a pound of dirt on them? Callum, well, I guess when events are coming back, how often do you usually resleeve?
I'm in the middle. I really like having new sleeves, and I do put like brand new sleeves on, especially for a GP or something. But I love just shuffling while I'm on the computer, and I love goldfishing. And so I always get so annoyed with myself that I buy new sleeves, sleeve a deck with like brand new sleeves, and then it just sits in front of me like being goldfished and pile shuffled, and I mean just shuffled in every way, like for 3 or 4 days that they get dirty just like that. And then move them around, playing them on the table and stuff at home, and then I have to like buy some new ones when I actually go and play in an event. So sometimes I'm a bit on the lazy side. I don't get a pound of dirt; they're not too bad, but I'm not the living embodiment of perfection like Acererak is.
Yeah, Acererak, I know. Well, I wasn't gonna mention him by name, but you did. I've heard the stories about him actually resleeving his event several times per day, like when he's playing a GP or something. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, you should resleeve them a lot. I got a actually maybe the last GP I played in before COVID, it was like a Pioneer one. I got a massive judge call day 2 because some of my sleeves were dirty, and so it could have been marked. And it came back that they were random cards, and it was fine. But you should change them probably like halfway through the day and stuff for those kind of events. But yeah, generally, I don't know, like if they work, they work, and they're not too bad.
Yeah, for me,
yeah.
I have like one hard rule basically, and I resleeve my entire deck before any big event, whether that's like a GP or card market series or whatever, like anything that's really big. For local stuff, I don't really, unless like there's a reason to, but usually there's like no reason to. But
yeah, I'm pretty much exactly
events,
the same as that, I think, yeah. Before every bigger one, I'll do it as well, definitely.
Yeah, also something I started doing is to always resleeve when I borrow a deck. Like, even just like, I guess as a courtesy to the person that you're like, oh, by the way, you're getting it back in like new sleeves. And also because when was that? Like 2014 or 15 or something. I borrowed a vintage deck, and the guy gave me the deck, and the sleeves were not perfectly matching. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. And I mean, the guy was super sorry for it, but in the end, it's just like, it's on me. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to like in a situation where I have to rely on somebody else's sleeves. And
it is a nice gesture. I'm usually on the lending rather than borrowing side, and I've had a few people return it with new sleeves, and I never thought of it until the first time. I was like, oh, that's actually quite nice, and it is, it's a very nice gesture. So I'd recommend that.
Awesome.
That's a cool question. Thanks, Kai.
Want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. So this is now getting into like new cards, how the legacy format is now, and this is on one of the really actually defining cards, which people were low on at the beginning, and then we kind of said, this guy's actually really, really good, and it just seems to be performing better and better. So Reaple Cheap says, is Prismatic Ending making card types irrelevant a good thing since it makes it easier to interact, or a bad thing because it makes the last viable Baneslayers like Chalice, Vial, Sylvan Library irrelevant? What do you think of that?
Actually, this is one of the best questions I've ever received on the podcast, honestly, because this
really,
is something I've
really nicely
never
framed, because
about.
it's not leading anything on, really. It's
that's a real thing, right? Sometimes you receive questions which is like basically an article in the very end. It's like, oh, do you think so too? It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But this is, Prismatic Ending is insane. Prismatic Ending is one of the most, I can't even say power, I guess it's also like insanely powerful, but it's one of the best additions to Legacy. I keep going back to powerful, but more like versatile and playable additions to Legacy ever since Abrupt Decay, because that's like the obvious comparison, right? That's the other card that's seeing a lot of play, other than I guess, counts as Judgment that basically hits anything. And what Ending is going for it is that it's just like a 1 mana removal spell for the mana cost that matters the most in Legacy, right? It's just like 1. CMC 1, or I guess we call it mana value now 1. That's a big thing. And part of playing the game was that your 1-drops, if they are not creatures, usually don't trade for their 1 mana answers, unless you have, I guess, Rare Tear hitting something. But overall, that's one of the great things, that even if you're on the draw, you play something for 1, they might spend their entire second turn removing it, giving you like the not the tempo advantage, but leveling the tempo playing field. With Prismatic Ending now, it's weird, and it's incredibly powerful. And I think Prismatic Ending, more than anything, actually contributed to making Bant Miracles as powerful as it is right now.
Massively.
Yeah.
I think even like with Endurance being as good as it is, Ending being like the 6th and 7th Swords to Plowshares for the mass 1-drop kind of Delver decks is what makes it like so good against it. Yeah, I am actually a bit torn on this, genuinely. I always think that removal spells, because they're reactive by nature and just by like a kind of fundamental thing, they can't be too powerful. Like some of them create like, interesting decisions. Like Prismatic Ending is kind of, it's very bad against like Gurmagangler or Hooting Mandrills and Murktide Regent now. So there are some downsides to it. And so I find those kind of balances quite interesting, but I don't like that it gives decks like just so many easy answers to Vial and Chalice. Like the control prayers, this is the most perfect card they could really dream of, because Vial and Chalice are the bane of them, especially Vial, I think. And there's always this thing where the bug decks had Abrupt Decay, but it's always a trade down in mana, but it's still good because of how powerful Vial is and stuff. Now you're trading that 1 mana for 1 mana, it's just so easy, and I think that card has just felt a lot worse than the format since it came along. So I'm torn. I think the card it's fine and not too powerful or anything, but not super keen on what it actually does to the format, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and we'll have to see, right, how that works out in the long run. Prismatic Ending certainly is not a card that anybody, at least I'm saying that right now, would ever consider like banning in Legacy or something. It's more like, it's not even like a deck building constriction, because it's, you will still play 1-drops, but Prismatic Ending is going to be an insane answer to 1-drops, and, well, insane as in trade 1 for 1 for 1 mana.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, in my head, I'm trying to come up with any kind of way to abuse that, and you already mentioned the Delve creatures. Mm-hmm. I don't like it when you're in a spot where you can play something that is very powerful, but it also has a very easy answer to it, but you still want to play it in hopes that they don't have the answer for it, and if they do have the answer for it, where basically the first turn didn't happen, because at that point we are down to like the Mental Misstep scenario.
Yeah.
And
it's even reminiscent of like what we were saying with kind of Oko style Baneslayer magic. It's just now, it's not really, it's 1 mana, it's quite different, there's more answers to these kind of things. But as you said, like when you're playing a thing like a Chalice, you just hope that they don't have the ending now. Before it was the Force kind of, just feels a bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah. Especially, at least with Force, right, you're trading up on a card, but
yeah.
We'll see how that actually ends up working. Are there any other decks that are really like adopting Prismatic Ending other than Bant Miracles? Like I've
seen Maverick play it a bunch.
In the sideboard, I guess.
Is it? Okay, I think I've seen...
Oh yeah, it actually would make sense, right? Because in the Maverick sideboard, we sometimes played between like 2 and 3 Path to Exile, like at times.
Yeah.
But there was like not an uncommon, but also like not a common inclusion, but... I think
I've seen, I mean, I could be completely off here, but I think I've seen it's played a couple of times in the main deck, like by Achilles and probably Dukes as well.
I mean, you could, especially if like Blue-Red Divers that big.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's generally in the black splash versions with Grist and Plague Engineer and stuff. Yeah. So you can kill the other Plague Engineers.
Like we're really going back to like what people used to call chunk decks, like blue, white, black.
Yeah.
Did I say blue, white, black? No. Green, white, black decks. Also Grist, by the way. Grist, people recommended it to me in Elves. Yeah. Been really loving Grist in Elves. Like
nice.
Really. That card is amazing. I've never ultimated yet, but like just the +1 is
just the utility of being able to like green sun for it, I guess.
Yeah, on an empty board that happens so often. Previously you would just like get Visionary, draw a card. Now you have like a fucking Planeswalker.
Yeah. That card is beautiful. It feels really, really balanced. Like does powerful enough things to be worth playing, like making it the creature so you can green sun for it and stuff. Like they did that on purpose, and you can chord and stuff in modern. Yeah, just really interesting card. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But back to the question, I think the main question was framed like, is it a bad thing or a good thing that it's making card types irrelevant? I think that's a bit strong, I will say, though. Like, it's not really making them irrelevant, it's making them worse. These cards can already be swingy in matchups, like, when you're playing Chalice and you play a Chalice Mirror, it obviously feels really silly. Or like Vial has diminishing returns and stuff. These cards will continue to be played, and they're still very good against these kind of decks. And if people start to kind of, quote unquote, play around Prismatic Ending by more delve threats, or I don't know, Maverick could go back to playing Gaddock Teague, for example. Like Gaddock Teague probably really wrecks Bant because they can't play Terminus or Prismatic Ending, and then you have like a mum for Swords to Plowshares. But yeah, if
I like that. I guess that they still have Caracas, but other than that,
yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, it could be quite good. If people do that, and then like Prismatic Ending might just start to feel too bad for them to play, so they go down in numbers, then these cards get better again. We might see the like ebb and flow of people playing with and around it and against and stuff. So yeah, but by nature, being a removal spell, I don't think it's actually going to make these card types irrelevant. If anything, these cards can lead to really, really one-sided games as well. So it might be okay. There's some pushback as well.
Yeah, it's not going to be like people are not going to play one-drops anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see how it works out. I'm also like, I'm not the biggest fan of what it does, but thus far I can't really say that it has like a massively bad impact on Legacy or anything. But who knows what happens in the future? But right now I'm happy with seeing Prismatic Ending.
Yeah. Next one, I'll pass it on to you. So Jordan Woosley says, do we know what it would take for a card to be printed and not absorbed into a blue shell? For example, Endurance's Prismatic Ending were fantastic printings for Maverick. However, Bank Control seems to be the best home for them, and now they're good against Maverick. This is probably inspired by Duke, because I saw tweeted a thing earlier saying these cards are amazing in the deck, and they felt great, but I keep losing to them as well, so they probably hurt the deck more. What do you think of this?
The thing is, like, if you want to make a card not playable in a blue shell, there's some solutions, but I don't think any of them are really elegant. Like, usually we talk about non-blue colored mana, like something like, I don't know, make Endurance triple green or something, then I guess they wouldn't really play it.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Like, even if, it's already double green, right?
Or like make a Planeswalker that's like red and green mana or something.
Yeah.
It took a second there.
that one took. Yeah. But it's not something I'm really super concerned with. Like, people say, oh, they print good cards, but then they are good in blue decks as well, and usually the best. But that's honestly just how it works. And I wouldn't go like the way this is the complete opposite way of how I would approach things. Like, I'm like, okay, let the format have good cards, but then make it so that those, well, people call it blue decks, but they're really just like multicolor blue soup decks. Like, usually, with Bant Control, we're talking about a 3-color deck, which, like, this is where I want to be. I want 3-color to be like the stable choice, and I want 4-color to be the crazy choice, and 5-color to be the absolute madman choice. And that's why I'm more looking at the enablers mana-wise. That's why I didn't like Deathrite Shaman in those decks, why I didn't like Astrolabe in those decks, because those decks made it even easier for to just like add the additional colors and abuse even more of the stuff. I like it more when stuff is distinct, like when we have like Grixis control and stuff, and I probably said this many times on the podcast. But yeah, I'm not that concerned, but there are solutions to make these cards playable. Like, sometimes, I don't know, we used to say you need to control a basic forest to cast any of those, but yeah, that's
no
not a thing
bias
anymore. Yeah. No, just saying that, like because these blue decks, they usually played like Tundra, Volcanic Island and stuff. They would maybe play like a tropical, but they would never ever play a basic forest. But this is long beyond us. Like, now they play basic forest like twice or something.
Yeah. To be honest, my point of view on it is I don't think it's really like a problem if blue decks pick stuff up either. As you said, I think we had this conversation before, maybe even last year, that it'd have to be really inelegant, like it deals damage to you equal to the number of islands you control, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, like, blue deck's going to pick it up because the shell around it is so good, and it's a whole nother discussion if the shell is too good and should be able to do that. As you said, it's like, you're playing all these good threats from green and white and green colors and the removal from white, and then the blue is the consistency. And so calling it a blue deck is more like saying the blue doesn't really add anything other than the consistency, which is the deck's power, but it's not really the like flavor of the deck unless you're playing like Marcus and stuff and you have actual counterspells and Jaces and things. They have very much become like a mid-range deck, splashing blue for Ponder, Brainstorm, and Force of Will kind of thing. So I would even say that the identity of these kind of blue mid-range decks has really shifted away from blue more and more as time goes on. So I don't know, it's a kind of conversation that people have very often where they're saying these blue decks are kind of usurping everything and taking them for themselves. But I think the more time goes on, people are just adapting Ponder and Brainstorm more. And it's not necessarily even a big problem in my mind. It's just the way the format is going and evolving and has been for a long time as well.
Yeah. Definitely the way I see it too. And has there actually been any really playable card in Legacy over the last couple of years that blue decks, quote unquote blue decks, couldn't play? Was there anything where they were like, oh, I wish I could play this, but this doesn't really work into my plan?
There probably is a few, and nothing's jumping. It's just kind of. Can you hear my puppy in the background? She's saying, "Let me in, let me. I want to talk about. Prismatic Ending too."
That's dogs in Legacy now, right? That's
there is.
Not in Legacy. Well, I guess in Legacy as well, but in Magic.
But nothing springs to mind. It's probably just cards that don't actually go along with their game plan. Like you'd have to have, like you said, triple casting cost of non-blue things.
Oh, I got a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good one. Thalia.
Yes, yeah. Or Choke while we're at it.
No, but seriously, like Thalia is that's like a neutral card. Choke is like, I'm targeting my opponent with it. Whereas Thalia, like, there's a reason Thalia's played in main decks, and I guess you're hurting yourself just as much. But I know they're like it's similar to Choke, but I still feel like Thalia is a little bit different with regards to that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, it's like we said, like from our side, it's not really a big problem, at least the way I think about it, as long as they stay like on 3 colors. And like Callum mentioned, their identity here also had to shift massively in order to incorporate some of these cards becoming much more mid-rangey. Whereas if you look at something like blue, white, red control, that's still a deck that would never ever play Endurance, and that couldn't fit their card. And so I'm okay as long as there's variety of different decks that are, in the grand scheme of things, kind of trying to do the same thing, but are using very different tools. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, and it also it depends where the format is and how it's feeling. Like if it's just like blue mid-range decks everywhere all the time, I think Snow was getting a bit like that as well. But currently, there's just I know we've had this Jund Madness deck pick up out of somewhere, the Affinity deck. Like there are some very real non-blue decks, even if people argue they're casting blue spells like Emery and stuff. These are not blue decks by the definitions that we normally talk about Legacy things. I think we're seeing more new kind of archetypes and cool stuff pop up in the last year than in so long that I can remember. So it's not like every single new card is just being picked up by blue decks. Like there are legit new decks popping up as well because there's so many tools being put out there. Like we've talked about this. I think we've mentioned the Madness deck a few times now, but I still haven't got around to playing it. But I'm super excited to do it. Have you played against it much?
Well, not much, but certainly a couple of times, and it really wrecked me. Sometimes, you get it, especially if you're playing like a half combo deck like F's. Mm-hmm. But when you just try going toe to toe with it, with a mid-range deck like Maverick, it's the same with Hogak, right? Hogak can also just overrun you, and this is even faster and less graveyard dependent. Yeah.
So the people that haven't seen it or heard of it yet, it's kind of Hogak-esque, so it has Vengevines and stuff, but it actually plays quite differently. So it's just Jund colors, and shout out to the person that I saw playing it first is Mahfouz Van Gogh. He's a Brazilian guy. I saw him brewing with this for the last few months, even before what's called the new Rootwaller, Blazing Rootwaller came out. But the rough list that I think people have kind of gone on to now is they have 8 Rootwallers, so 4 of the new one Blazing and 4 Basking. They have Putrid Imp, probably the best enabler in the deck. Angie's Ravager, which I love this card. It's like a 3-mana 3/3, attacks each combat fable. When it attacks, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So really powerful after you've pitched your hand to all these kind of looting effects.
It basically reads whenever the text enters the recall.
Yeah, even more sometimes because you can recall and like cast Root Wall as you discard. So insanely powerful, and it has Madness for 2, so you can like discard it easily. Then it has 3 Anger to give everything your haste. You got Vengevines because you're casting lots of Root Wallers and stuff. Amazing. Hollow Ones because you're discarding cards. We'll get to the enablers. 2 Ox of the Gonus, like to refill later as well. Then it has 4 Burning Inquiry. People that played Modern a bunch a couple of years ago will be familiar with when you keep 2 landers and they cast this turn 1, then you got no lands in your hand all of a sudden.
Dude, that's the fucking card that's wrecked me the most. Like, you keep a really good head with IFs, and you're like, okay, come on, bring it on, my friend. Like, the fuck did my lands go?
There's an absolutely beautiful clip of XJ Cloud playing Modern a while ago. He was playing Bant Spirits, and he keeps a hand of like Noble Hierarch, 2 lands, you can cast all his spells, a Rest in Peace, and he's against like this graveyard deck, and they go turn 1 Burning Inquiry, and he just discards both of his lands and the Rest in Peace, and then he's got no lands in his hand, and he just he just goes, fuck Modern, I fucking hate Modern, I hate it so much. It's so good.
Right, welcome to Legacy now. We're doing this too.
Yeah, moving swiftly onwards. We got 4 Faithless Looting, as you'd expect, then 4 Once Upon a Time, and 4 Lion's Eye Diamond. It's just so cool. It's just like another way to break Lion's Eye Diamond. We haven't really seen it in this style before. So what Lion's Eye Diamond can do is, obviously, it's actually used to discard your whole hand, essentially. So you could just go turn 1 LED, discard like 2 Root Wallers and a Vengevine or 2, and you get them back. And then you can use that mana to either flashback looting, or you can like return an Ox of Agonis with the red mana potentially sometimes, or you cast Angie's Ravener with the Madness cost. The deck is just doing some really cool things. In the sideboard, you have sweet ones like Bone Shards, which is the new removal. You can destroy a creature or planeswalker with additional cost to sacrifice a creature or discard a card. And Firestorm, if you play against like people that want to play elves or something, you just Firestorm their whole board. So yeah, the deck is cool.
I've heard about that.
It looks fun. It just plays great. And it's different. We haven't seen this kind of thing in Legacy before or a long time. It's always been like kind of like a fringe idea. People have tried these kind of stuff like Turbo, Vengevine,
Turbo Madness.
Yeah, there we go. Turbo Madness works. But they've always been kind of just like the decks you'll play at local and go 2/2 or something. But
if I was running a bar, I would have a cocktail that would be called Turbo Madness.
Turbo Madness is a fantastic name. Open a bar in Kenya now and call it Turbo Madness.
We already opened the bar in Kenya. Next up is, well, it was supposed to be a burger joint, but apparently
you can call the burger joint Turbo Madness then.
It's actually going to be an open air cinema somewhere down the line, like sometime this year maybe.
Turbo Madness can be like a like retro new wave synth kind of style thing as well. Just show all those kind of films.
You know what we play at our bar most of the time, from what I hear?
No, go on.
We just play what they call Deep House.
Deep House.
I like the way you pronounce it. It's like Deep House.
Cool. Anyway, we got quite off topic there, like talking about the Madness deck, but I was going on a tangent of like new decks popping up and stuff. For me, like this could lead us into a bit like talking about the general state of the format and stuff. So I gotta admit, I was like terrified of Blue-Red Delver completely dominating, and obviously it's like one of, if not the top deck, and it is performing very well. But I've been really happy. Like, so Bant Control, or mid-range, whatever you want to call it, has done a great job of keeping it in check. Like, Prismatic Ending, I think, is a huge part of that, as is Endurance. And they seem pretty, like, locked heads. Bant probably slightly favoured, and Blue-Red Delver's trying to make up ways of getting ahead of it. And yeah, they're just battling back and forth. And this is kind of like, if they're teching for each other, this has given other decks the chance to pull ahead. So we've seen Maverick do well. We've seen Hogak do well recently again. Doomsday has been crushing the latest challenges, actually, even though they say it's a bad Delver matchup, and with Endurance in the format. Like Kai, who asked the question earlier, he's top 8 2 weeks in a row, I believe, top forward. We've seen one of the top 8s had 3 of them in. Like, Doomsday is really, really coming back like hard. As I mentioned before, we've got this Madness deck. We had Affinity doing very well. We've got Affinity in one of the Italian events we'll mention in a minute. We're just seeing cool things. We're seeing like the Standstill deck use Urza Saga. We've started to see Ruby Storm do better and better. Matt Nass has been playing it recently, and It top 8'd the last one as well. Martin Badminton top 8'd with a blue-red version on the weekend. We've seen Tony Murata do great with Cloud Post consistently. I don't know, I'm just like rattling off every single deck that comes to me. Right? There really is. It's great to watch and play and stuff. Bob top 8'd with Blue-Red Painter, which is like a kind of like a Delver deck in disguise, but Stefan Schultz made it, and he says Bob made it worse, so I got to shout that out there. But yeah, it's like a Blue-Red Delver deck with the cantrips and forces and stuff, and then it's using Urza Saga to get like a 2 of Grindstone, and then you've got the painters, and if everyone's playing like Blue-Red Delver, he's got main deck Hydroblast and Pyroblast, and against Bant, the blasts are good as well, because you can name red for painter. You know, we're just seeing like tons of interesting stuff, so I just haven't, like, at the forefront of my mind hasn't been what are these blue decks taking. It's been there's so much other stuff mentioned going around. So got to shout out Joe and the rest of the crew for all the data collection for all these things, because I'm rattling off all those results, and if it weren't for them, we wouldn't like know it as clearly and stuff. So yeah, thanks again to those guys. I know we shut them out a few times, but go and check out what they do. I believe they started a Patreon because it is a lot of work to bring all this information in. So go find Joe Dyer on Twitter. That's the word, Twitter, the bird one. He is Volrath XP,
I think.
Yeah. And give him some support, because these guys like tirelessly do it week in, week out. Julian, you helped out once.
Yeah, I've helped out once, and that really introduced me to the scale of this project. This is not like just random people in a Discord shouting out, oh, by the way, this guy's playing this guy's playing that. They, like, after the event is over, they literally go into every single player's matches, and they check what everybody's playing, and then they file it into a Discord, an Excel file, I guess. And you can only do that once the event is over. So not only do you need to play the event and keep track, but also like after the event is over, you need to go through that. And that I would only assume that that's another hour or two. And sometimes, you need to find stuff. So shout outs to them. Mm-hmm. All the more power to them making their Patreon thing. I think you can get all the information for, was it $7 or $8 a month?
Yeah.
And yeah, this is something that's going to add a ton of, like, without this, we don't even know what does Wizards do, like top 32, but certainly not win rates and meta percentage, which is like one of the biggest things, right? Even for just like a single event, it doesn't matter all that much, but once you compile them and you add them, you get a much better picture of the format. And that's something I really appreciate.
Without this bigger picture, I think we could still be freaking out about Blue-Red Delver for all we know. We might have just been assuming that they have this like 65% win rate or something, and we don't see that Bant is actually really helping keeping it in check and stuff. So yeah, who knows? So it's just vital to have good conversations around actual data rather than making stuff up and guessing.
Awesome. By the way, actually, we have so many more listener questions than I just realized.
I threw one more in at the end here because I think it's a great question, especially based on what kind of deck you get donated quite a lot on your streams.
Oh, this one. I can't see. Oh, this one's coming to us from Dungeon Shade MTG.
Yeah.
You can only play mono black Pox, Ruby Storm, or mono white stacks for the rest of your days. Which and why?
Well, obviously you just love white stacks, right? Like based on how much you play it on stream.
This is by far my most requested donation deck list, and I had that deck in paper in 2007.
Maybe it's Dungeon Shade on loads of alts, just like making you play it.
No, it's actually the same person requesting it every single time.
The deck is sweet.
I think I played it like 8 times or something.
Nice.
Yeah, the deck is sweet in the way that you have a lot of power when it works out mana wise. Like there's a reason that the deck often plays like 26 lands or 27 lands or something. But if you made me choose, I would probably be the Ruby Storm guy. Like, if you really made me be one of those 3 players for the rest of my life, and I'd still go to, like... but then again, like, I don't know. I just want to put creatures into play and tap them for abilities that are not attacking, and neither of the decks does that.
Yeah,
it's just like...
mono white stacks could have, like... You could branch out and play, like, Soldier Stompy or Angel Stompy, maybe.
Okay. If you give me Soldier Stompy, I'm going to take that in a heartbeat. Okay. Like, I'm going to take... Yeah. Soldier Stompy is amazing. Preeminent captain and stuff, and
captain of the watch
chief and stuff.
Yeah. That's basically show and tell Grizzlebrand or Emrakul, isn't it?
So that's gonna be my answer.
Okay, a bit cheating, but I let you have it. God, I've just been like thinking about listening to what you're saying. I haven't even thought about it. You've got 108 stacks. I don't want to touch white cards, thank you. Pox is just Pox, isn't it? Like, gotta go with Pox. It's so calming. Like, you could just get to turn 20 and say, land, go, 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 go. For a while. I'll keep repeating
Attack
for a
of
while.
Mishra's Factory for 2.
Yes, yeah. You've got a time away. Okay, I'll block with my Nether Spirit. Okay, next turn I'll bring it back. Block with my Nether Spirit. 10 turns later, hey, I drew a Innocent Blood. Call your Tarmogoyf Stead. You can really, like, after 10 years, when you grow old, you're like 85 years old, sitting on your porch, playing with your friends. You can just like relax and play Smallpox like it's meant to be happening. So that's my answer. Pox.
Yeah, okay. I enjoyed that. I received like 2 donation decklist requests for it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would enjoy it. I thought it would be like a sweet deck because I've never really played it, and then I actually enjoyed it even more than I thought. But yeah, until the end of days, it's gonna be
quite a long time.
War Chief and friends.
I got on Pox. I got to share one of my favorite like little snippets I've ever read. I don't remember who posted this, so if someone did, please like post like in response to this podcast going out. But someone posted on Reddit about like them playing Pox and their win rates and stuff, and they calculated their win rate when they go turn 1 Dark Rich Liliana, which is meant to be the deck's most powerful play, and it was like 35% or sub that or something. It's so funny. I just absolutely love these crazy people's dedication to this deck, and like it's just brilliant. So yeah, I've got a massive soft spot for Pox.
I guess part of that is that like Liliana isn't the card it used to be anymore.
No,
yeah.
The mighty have fallen. Like you tick her up and they discard an Uro or something, and yeah,
it's like what the fuck just happened?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, there's a second question, and here, this is a new word I learned, by the way. Are the insipid Bant controllers that much better than the Cheskai build? Well, I don't know, man. Those are like 2 completely different decks to me. I didn't even think about them in the same, like as being part of the same quote unquote build. If you ask me, I think both are maybe, but definitely like in the top 3 decks of the format right now. But it's so hard to tell which one is better.
They both have pros and cons.
Your expected metagame, right?
Like Bant is more of a sledgehammer. It has these Uros and Endurances and a bit more Planeswalkers and stuff. And I really think it is a mid-range deck. It's not really a control thing. And so it might be better like against an unexpected thing where you just want more raw power probably. Whereas Jeskai things, I mean, I assume we're talking about, I don't know if we're talking about the, like, maybe it's as a Saga standstill kind of decks now with Ragavan.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Then, yeah, I mean, this is playing like also raw power, new cards and stuff. My problem is like, so a lot of people jump to the idea of standstill plus as a Saga pretty quickly, and it's really cool. My problem is standstill is good in a slower format where you can take advantage of it. And then I was terrified of playing this into Delver with 12 1-drops. And I still feel like that. Like maybe as a Saga is still good enough to take it over, but they have wastelands as well. So like, I mean, with Ending, you do have a lot of removal for their 1-drops, but I still am not super keen on the idea of standstill into this a format with so much Delver. So I would say...
Is the standstill part even that pronounced? I thought standstill was like a 2-off or something.
Yeah, I can had 1. I've seen other people do it, but like Brian Koval plays a list with a bunch more and stuff. Like people are definitely playing 4-off standstills in these kind of shells. So it depends on the build, but I think Bant just has more raw power still. But yeah, they both have pros and cons. I don't think they're too far apart.
Yeah, I would feel better about registering the chess guy to any like big event or something, or anything that's like 7, 8, 9 rounds. I don't know, just because it's better against combo. At least that's my feel. I always feel like when I play those Bant decks, they're like pretty meh against combo decks, whereas this deck that can get down like turn 1, Ragavan, and then just like ride the monkey. And that's what I want to do. I want to be riding the monkey.
Yeah. I mean, it could depend where you're playing. Like, so we'll get onto these Italian events soon. There's so much combo, like more than you'll see online, more than you'll see in a lot of places. So yeah, there I would definitely prefer to play anything with Ragavan, as you said. So yeah, it's a meta thing.
Cool. One more listener question was actually submitted in our Discord last week by MTN Passigno. Or actually, is it MTN Pass? MTN Pass, I know.
Mountain Pass, I know.
Dude, you're so much smarter than me.
Mountain Pass, I know, bolt you.
Yeah. And they're asking, The surface level decision to play or not play Stifle is often equated to it being expected or unexpected. What are some other aspects of the meta, the decks or archetypes in which make Stifle particularly well or terribly positioned in deck building?
So some of these, like I've got a few that jump out to me, which I think are even more important than the being expected or unexpected. Like it's a very good card against Doomsday. So against Thassa's Oracle, you can Stifle the trigger. So this is if Doomsday was like, I mean, it's doing very well right now, so Stifle is probably quite powerful right now. Or when Eldrazi was like a new thing, or when it's very, very strong, Stifle was probably pretty poor to play then into metagame with a lot of Ancient Tomb kind of decks and chalices and stuff. Whether it's like expected or unexpected, then I don't know. Like, I think people often kind of overthink this kind of thing, and people when it's expected, it means it's because it's good. And so you want to play it because it's good. When it's unexpected, it often means it's when it's bad, like in the situations I said with like lots of Ancient Tomb decks. So I think they're kind of actually related to each other much more than the question would suggest. And so I would be looking to play it when you think that it's a good card into some decks. Like if there is a lot of decks playing fetch lands, but I don't think it's particularly good in Delver Mirrors. So like if there's a lot of non-Delver fetch land decks, as well as Doomsday, for example, then it could be good. But if you're also going to be facing like Plains Vile starts and stuff too much, then it's going to be pretty weak. So it really depends on like what decks are doing well currently, I think, rather than people not playing around it. Because the truth is, even if it's on people's radar, the good players especially will realize when they can and can't play around it, and they will just fetch into it or not fetch into it anyway. So you don't get a huge bonus by it being expected, I think.
Totally agree on that one. Like I feel like the expected, unexpected part, and it's good that Mountain Passer now actually phrases it. It's often equated to expected and unexpected, because I think that's people just do because it's the level one way to explain it. But once you go deeper, it's like, there's a reason, like you mentioned, right? There's a reason it's expected or unexpected, and even if you kind of expect it, there's still many situations where you're like, okay, I still, I'm probably going to do it on their upkeep, then I'm going to pass, and that's going to set them back a little bit on tempo, but me as well, of course, if they have it. But I guess I'm just trying to say what you just said in a perfect way.
I mean, there is still like something to be gained. So there's been metagames where like Stifle is, when it's stock in Delver and has been for like a few weeks, that's where its power does drop off. So I mean, one of my favorite things to do is like place Flusterstorm against Stifle, and then you they cast a Brainstorm, you fetch and response, and then you like swords their Delver, they try and like counter it or something, and then you like fetch and you fluster everything, whatever. When you know that
and they stifle the fetch, right, and then you fluster and hit three of their spells,
and then you get like a 3-for-1. It's all the value. You set those situations up because you know that they have Delver, and so I think after Delver, like it's absolutely 100% stock in Delver, then it does drop off in value, because people not just play around it like by not fetching like blindly into it turn one, but they actually set up traps and stuff, and they actually deck builds to play around it as well. Like you'll start to see less decks that rely on these kind of effects. You might see like Doomsday drop off a little bit, for example, if every single Delver deck is playing it. Not that Doomsday can't beat a Stifle, but it's just another great tool against them.
Just like another 1-mana thing they have to account for in like a weird way.
Yeah, exactly. I think Stifle's probably not bad right now as well.
It's never really bad, right? As long as people are playing Wasteland and you're playing like a deck full of non-basic lands and you play Stifle, you're always going to get that, right? People are going to try to waste you, and you're using it for protection, which I think is the coolest way to actually use the Stifle.
Yeah. Like, there's always a 1 or 2 of in the Tom Hep depth decks. And they always have it when you have, like, the right thing. But you can also use it to, like, shore up weaknesses. Like, I think I used to play it a lot in 4-color Delver decks, because you do need to protect your mana base from from Wastelands against like Death and Taxes or Delver Mirrors and stuff. But it was very rarely used as a offensive like mana denial thing. But it was used to like counter a Jace activation if they managed to resolve it sometimes, because the decks did go later and stuff. Like you do need to think of like what is it actually doing for your deck as well, and is this gonna line up with what my deck wants to do in the current meta game against what I want to beat and whatever. So yeah, again, there's like multiple layers to it, but I think the main thing, like as you said, you worded it very well, is you just need to be thinking, is this doing what I want my deck to be doing against the decks that are good in the format currently?
Yeah, pretty much. Awesome. So I think we've actually made it through all of the listener questions.
Nice.
Before we highlight the 2 events in Italy, we try not to like cover all the new releases and all the previews, because I feel like there's diminishing returns on talking about cards that are probably not going to see play, like Oko. But there's basically 2 cards that were mentioned in the preview that could have some implications for Legacy. Mm-hmm. And the first of them is actually called, what do you pronounce it? Like Demilich? Oh, you actually pronounce it like the German way?
I think so. Well, I've always said this because Dungeon Shade is going to love this as well. Demilich is the name of an absolutely incredible Finnish death metal band from the 80s. I think they're from the 80s. Oh, I'm going to get crucified here. They're actually early 90s. But yeah, I had no idea it was a Dungeons and Dragons name. So I've always I actually played with them as the last gig I played before COVID. And it was like a massive honor, blah, blah, blah. So then this card came out. So, holy shit, Demilich, I love this. So I've got a love for the card, even though I don't actually think it's that good.
I'm actually surprised that you can pronounce the German. Like, nobody ever can do that.
Demilich, yeah. Well, that's what people say that call the band, so I'm going to go with that.
Music teaching you German pronunciation.
Yeah, bitte, yeah. So I'll read the card out and let's hear what you have to say about it. So it is a very odd card actually as well. It's quite hard to work out. So it costs 4 blue mana, like 4 blue symbols. So it's very good with Master of Waves, Thassa and stuff, like Mono Blue Devotion.
It comes to mind.
So it's a skeleton wizard. It's a 4/3. And this spell costs 1 blue less to cast for each instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn. So you can basically cast it for free if you cast 4 spells. When it attacks, exile up to 1 target instant sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast the copy. Importantly, you do have to cast the mana cost for that. Then lastly, you may cast Demilich from your graveyard by exiling 4 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I can actually sum this up very quickly, but we still have to talk about it. But has there ever been a deck in Legacy that wants to cast 4 instant or sorceries in a turn and then pass the turn? Because that's what you need to do, right? If you get this one down, you want to get value out of it, you have to pass the turn and then attack on the next turn. I can't even think of any good Legacy deck that wants to play 4 instant or sorceries in a single turn and then pass the turn.
That's exactly it. Like, people were saying you can go Rite of Flame, Manamorphose this. It's like, well, you're casting 2 cards to, make a 4/3. They just bolt it or, swords it or whatever. Yeah, and then, I
guess to be fair, you could also just, cast 2 and then cast it for 2, but then you also still need, 4 lands in play, or unless you're using, stuff like Acceleration, which makes it weird because it's not the greatest payoff, honestly. No,
I posted some a thing on Twitter about it because I think it is interesting, and basically I can see it as a 3 mana card as the average if you build around it slightly. And I think the difference between building around a card where you need to cast 1 free spell to make it okay, Storming Entity is quite a good card, I think, and it would almost be there in Blue Red Delver if they didn't just have loads of better options. But that one needs you to just cast 1 Manamorphose or 1 Gut Shot. And then it costs 2 mana rather than 5, and it's a more powerful card than this, I think. But this is you can play a Gust Shot and then cast it on turn 3. But would you even play this if it was always 3 mana? I don't think so. And then when you're needing to cast 2 free cards, which, it can be Manamorphose, but I have a thing, I really dislike Manamorphose outside of kind of Ruby Storm as a card that you cast for 2 mana. It opens you up to some really, really awkward sequencing and stuff. And so people always think of the ceiling of that card, and it's got a very low floor, actually. And I don't know, you go turn 2 Manamorphose this, it's still just not that good to me. The payoff is just not worth almost any kind of setup, in my opinion. So
we should also mention that the payoff is not like Dreadhorde Arcanist. You still have to pay for the card from the grave. This is basically like Snapcaster Mage when it attacks.
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, the rebuying is pretty legit as well. So I think in a fair deck you're going to be rebuying it once very easily, and then maybe twice in super long games. So maybe someone does something. It's kind of cool in Phoenix decks because you are wanting to cast a bunch of cantrips to bring them back, and it's something that you could buried alive for one of these and then return quite easily, and then cast the same turn. So I think it will probably have a home in combo decks more than anything fair. So it could be
a
like
backup plan.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be a sideboard juke. Like a lot of things will go Brainstorm into Ponder into Duress You, and then I don't know, like something like that. But then being blue, I think a lot of combo decks are having Pyroblast sided in against them. So even there, I'm not quite.
I can see like Marcus Ewart playing like High Tide and having this in the sideboard as a 4-off.
Yeah.
Then he goes like peak, opt, and cast this for free.
Yeah, and then like Brain Freeze yourself and return it.
Oh my god, we've cracked it.
Yeah, well, there was some ideas of like, yeah, you can go like ritual, Brain Freeze yourself, hit one, return it, cast it for free.
Whoa. This is not legendary, so if you actually do Brain Freeze yourself, you can like cast additional copies for free from the yard. Oh, yeah. Right?
But like, just cast Tendrils of Agony. Why are you casting 4/3s?
Yeah.
Like, this is the main thing. If you're casting loads of spells in a turn, you should just kill your opponent. Like, it reminds me of that amazing rant from, was it Patrick Sullivan or Cedric Phillips? That they were talking about Storm, and they were just like, just fucking kill your opponent. What are you messing around for with these Mother of Runes and shit? So
I offend every Death and Texas player on the road.
Yeah. I just feel the same here though. Like, it requires like one, even maybe half a mana or 1 mana too much build around and set up for not enough payoff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if it was 3 mana, it would be a different deal. I think this card would be great at 3 mana, which is the classic thing. Like, I think this card would be good if it costs a mana less. Well, yeah, you can say that about a lot of things.
You don't say.
Yeah, I think Oko would be good at 2 mana. You know.
Oh yeah, let's see how to balance that. By the way, if those who don't know, Wizards actually does that thing on Arena where they rebalance cards. So, for example, Veil of Summer is 2 mana now. Oko, I think it's
a -2
+1 abilities are -2 now. Yeah. It's pretty
different. Yeah, I'm going to try that actually.
I think the only thing that they changed for Uro is like Uro doesn't give you the extra land drop, right?
Yeah. That's cool. It's like a subtle change, but it makes a big difference. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I read the card inviting you to talk about it, and then I just kind of went off there, and I'm pretty scathing.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when I saw this card, I was thinking about Vintage, if anything. Like, I thought maybe people would try this in Vintage. But then again, like, you can just go Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is like much easier and also the better payoff. And
yeah, basically, I can just envision like there will definitely be hands where it's good, and there'll be like, you know, screenshots on Twitter of people playing this turn 1 or turn 2, and then you like attack with it.
And then they flashback their Mana Morphose on the second turn and pass.
yeah, right. And I think this could be like very legit as a one-off in Arclight Phoenix decks, especially with Buried Alive. I would definitely play one in that kind of shell. They're probably like someone clever could come up with a shell that's actually really good in, but yeah.
Well, if you can't, nobody can.
I've got my hat ready to eat. You know, I'm putting it out there again. You know what? The last time I said I'll eat a hat if something goes badly, it was that awful green enchantment. Did it do anything? So I'm 1 for 1 in these, I think.
The one that actually, like, some legacy group, Facebook group wanted to like immediately ban and stuff.
in Search of Greatness, was it?
Yeah. Not so much greatness to be found, I guess.
The card's awful. And I said I'd eat a hat, and I've not had to eat a hat yet. So let's see about Demolic. This one's a bit more like, this is dipping my toes in the water. You know, this one is a bit better than that stupid enchantment.
You know, by the end of the year, maybe we'll actually see you eat a hat.
Maybe, yeah. They'll be like, they'll reprint Dreadhorde Arcanist, but for 1 blue mana, I'll be like, yeah, this card's fucking trash. Let's go.
Awesome. And speaking of trash cards, there's another one. Actually, I mean, I'm primarily mentioning it. It was brought to our attention. I think Meltyman in the Discord mentioned it, and I also later saw it on Reddit. There's a zombie wizard. It's called Acererak, Lord of Undeath, and it's 5/5 for 2 colorless and a black. And when it enters the battlefield, if you haven't already completed the Tomb of Annihilation, and stay with me, it will make sense.
What a great name. Just got to set that out there.
If you haven't completed the Tomb of Annihilation, return that dude to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. So if you haven't paid attention to what's going on in Magic, you will probably be...
Sorry, Julian, we're meant to be reading the card text, not the flavor text?
Pretty much right. I mean, we're supposed to be competitive, so I guess people will know about it, but I'm really very quickly going to go over this. So dungeons are a new thing that Wizards introduced. You can have any number of dungeons, and they're just like a card, and they have different stages, different rooms printed on the dungeon. And whenever you venture into a dungeon, that's a triggered ability on a creature, you move forward in the dungeon. And for example, the first room has Scry 1. The second room, you can actually pick different rooms. It's a choice. You can, for example, create a treasure token or make a 1/1 goblin creature token and stuff. Like, there's different things. And these venture into the dungeon creatures, they allow you to eventually complete a dungeon. And then there's going to be interactions in case you have completed a dungeon or not. For example, this one, it's a 5/5 for 3 mana, which is obviously broken, right? But it only works if you've completed one of those dungeons. There's currently 3 dungeons. And the reason we're mentioning this is because we actually want this guy to bounce itself. Because we don't want to complete the Tomb of Annihilation. We want to complete the Lost Mine of what the fuck, Fendelver. Okay.
Delver gets another toy. God damn it.
Yeah, we want to complete the Lost Mine of Fendelver something like 20 times or so in Allurn, because this way we actually get to play this guy for free, bounces back to the owner's hand, you get to venture deeper into the dungeon. And here's the thing, I initially didn't know, you can complete a dungeon multiple times. There's no upper limit to how many times you can complete a dungeon. And for example, this one, the final room is draw a card. So you can use this one together with Allurn to draw your deck. And people say, yeah, this is a 1 card, or rather 2 card combo that wins with Allurn, but we already have that, right? Recruiter of the Guard or Imperial Recruiter, they just like get additional copies of themselves, and eventually you get Cavern Hub, or well, it depends on which way you want to go about it, but you can eventually just like complete the combo by a certain string. And why would we consider this card?
So there's some interesting pros and cons to both. So this card is a 1 card combo once you have Allure in your hand, unless your opponent has more life than you have cards in library. So unless there's another dungeon that lets you like get around that somehow. So
sorry to interrupt you there. I thought like the idea was you just draw your deck and then you still have like another win condition. So you're not bound to kill your opponent this way.
Because you can go through the Dark Pool room, and it says each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So yeah, but then you draw a card, Temple of Doomathoin. Yeah, fair enough. So you'll draw your deck. So maybe you want another win condition in there, like the Strix Harpy, whatever it's called.
Anything really. There's just like so many.
So I mean, the plus side to this is Recruiter is cool. It is actually quite an elegant win condition because it plays around removal very often, like the Arctic Merfolk. But the downside is both Recruiters are like off color for what is usually a bug shell, and so you have to splash for it, which is fine often, but like not ideal. And then you have to put stuff like Quickling or Arctic Merfolk in your deck, and you do need to have like multiple Recruiters, and then you need to play the really weird looking 1/5 from Time Spiral, whatever it's called. Like, you do need to put multiple bad cards in your deck.
Dreamstalker, that's the one.
Dreamstalker, that's the one, yeah.
I love that guy. That guy is amazing. That allows you to play around removal like a boss.
It is super cool. So, yeah, the chain is great because this new Lord of Undeath, like, he does, if there's swords in response, then if you don't have the Harpy to save it and stuff. So I think you would still play Harpies in the deck to kind of protect it, to play around removal. And so, yeah, the plus side is you don't have to play all these Dreamstalkers and Arctic Merfolks and stuff. So, yeah.
But the thing is, like, from what I understand, the Allure, at least the good lists these days, already play like the absolute minimum number of awkward cards, and they're really just like a Harpy value deck. Where I've seen it multiple times, right? Where the deck just gets a bunch of like 2/2s into play, and then you just like you Harpy your Baleful Strix to draw an additional card, and eventually it just like adds up.
Well, the thing is, currently their win condition is just 1 Cauldron Familiar, and if you're going to keep playing Harpy, then I just don't see a reason to play this new card over Uro. Because with Harpy and Uro, you draw your deck, and then you can have whatever card kills.
That's how it works now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like Uro is so perfect for the deck. It's like, it's the deck that wants mana anyway. It's ramping, and then it like doubles up as a win condition. Basically, you just need to have 1 little random idiot at the end that drains your opponent. I mean, you draw your deck, so you could play Thassa's Oracle as well. I mean, it's kind of whatever.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to bring it up to introduce that whole dungeon sub-theme, which I was like a little bit torn because I thought it was weird, but there was like a really good Twitter thread where they explained this is really just like a way that we can put multiple like modal abilities on a creature that give you a bunch of choices without printing all of them on the creature.
I absolutely love these dungeons. I think it's such a brilliant idea. And what it's going to do for limited, in theory, is going to be crazy. Like, I cannot wait to play with them in limited. They seem so cool. They're just nowhere near powerful enough constructed from what we've seen so far, apart from these like corner cases with old cards like Allurin. These dungeons are just tokens. Like, I saw again the Facebook group that shall not be named go nuts about, like, you know, having to have 18 card sideboards and blah blah, and like
just so you wouldn't give away too much information. And
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, would you bring
like you can have
would you bring scroll
dungeons,
tokens
right?
to you when you're playing Delver? Like, yeah, this is the same thing.
Like, dude, I have like an entire suitcase when I come to a tournament, so people like they have no idea I could be playing, I don't know, Battle of Wits.
Yeah, Battle of Wits of tokens, yeah. So
you know my favorite trolling that I've ever done? Like, my favorite art of trolling is when you like, you shouldn't do this like at a proper big event, because that's still like gonna be weird. But like, if you play at your local event and you wanna have fun, you put your sideboard into a binder. And like you potentially, like, the binder has enough space to hold like a couple hundred cards, but you only put 15 cards in there.
Yeah.
So when you go to sideboard for the second game, you pull out your binder and you go like you browse through it. You're like, yes, this one is good, and that one.
I am absolutely 100% doing this. So anyone that listens to this from the London crew, just close your ears now. I'm definitely not going to do this, I promise. Yes, this is a brilliant idea. Although I never troll. It's not something I like to do. I think it's the lowest form of comedy, so maybe I won't actually do it.
Well, then just call it something else.
Yeah. Troll under the bridge. No, I do like a good troll.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've got one final thing about this card. Talking of trolling, there's been a question on Twitter, just for you, from Kind MTG. It says, a question for Julian Knob. What do you think of going turn 1 Dark Crit into the new Allurin guy?
Sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there we go. That's the answer we wanted. I tried to explain the bouncy thing, and he said, "Yeah, sounds broken." Great. I'm glad you agree.
I mean, maybe they're scared they're gonna like spend a removal spell in it in response.
Well, 10-1-5-5. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, response, kill it.
yeah. Like, someone
you
in response, Caracas it. Thank God. Yeah.
I've told the story before, right? When I remember when I played a guy at the local in Munich, and he just had this thing. He wanted to counter every single spell I play. I think he just had Borrowed Miracles or something, and I think I played Elves, and he just like went, okay, counter this, destroy that, counter this, destroy that. And I really got the feeling that he literally didn't even know what the cards did, and he didn't care.
Yeah.
And then I played Virtual Rangers, and he immediately put Forceful to the table, and I immediately cover up the card. I'm like, okay, what does the card do? And he just tells me, like, in the most genuine, happy way, I don't care, I just came here to counter.
Yeah. You gotta respect it.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
Yeah. I have played against some new players, which is like, it's kind of endearing, and like, Legacy's terrifying, and so many cards are really powerful and good, and so you play against them and they do counter everything or try and kill everything on sight. And yeah, like, it's fair if you don't know, like, you know, what you're really up against. And then yeah, you could very easily like just kind of make them daze your things and whatever. It's quite fun. It's quite funny. But yeah, I get it. I think I did the same thing when I was younger. Just like, oh my God, this shit is terrifying. What do we do?
Yeah, I remember when I got into Legacy, and like for the first year or two, I thought that Forceful was the most broken spell in the history of the format.
Kind of is, I think so. But yeah, back then it definitely wasn't. I mean, you need to save it for good cards like Pancake Flipper and stuff.
You actually had to counter that. That one would run away with the game if you had like Noble Hierarch and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of run away with the game, some Stefano Sergi actually ran away with the tournament at Four Seasons at the park in Bologna, I think, a week ago. 170 players, I want to say.
That's so many. It's so good. Like, we're going to cover another one on Tunnel Rise again, which, just to jump ahead, like, just for a second, it had 120 players capped out. This one 170. Like, that is insane. That's so many players. Like, so I'm super jealous of Italy, and congrats and well done to all the organisers and players and stuff for just like smashing it, basically. Love it.
Yeah, that was something else, right? We're going to link to actually that's going to be the entire top 8 lists on Facebook already available. So those are going to be in the show notes. Otherwise, you can just join the Facebook group. It's called Four Seasons Tournaments, like the 4 is the number. And I didn't expect 170 people to show up. Like, there's a lot of talk about, Legacy is so expensive and stuff, but especially in Italy. I mean, I know I don't know all of the Italian players personally, but I've played so many tournaments in Italy. There's probably like I might have actually played more big legacy events in Italy than Germany, almost like basically for sure. And I guess they all just like they have the card. Sometimes like it's all Japanese foil and stuff. It's amazing. Italy is really the legacy
Italians
capital
just
of the world.
Absolutely love legacy. We've said this many times before, but they are like the lifeblood of European legacy.
That's the best way to put it, really. Should we look at the top 8? Should we look what should take the win?
Take
awesome.
it away.
So I already mentioned first place, the champion Stefano Sergi, Black Red Reanimator.
Wow, we haven't seen this for ages.
To call it like an 8. Yeah, I almost wanted to call it like an old classic coming back.
It kind of is.
It's been around for a while now.
Yeah, it's just like dipped off. People thought that it might make a big comeback with Grief. Maybe we should look at this if it had any in. But
I'm looking at the sideboard at the decklist, and it's super straightforward. Like this almost looked like something that Eric gave to me like a year or two ago. Actually, there's Sarah's Emissary. That's a new one, right?
And Archon of Cruelty. 2 new ones.
I don't even know what Archon of Cruelty does.
Archon of Cruelty is like a 6/6 flying. When ETBs or attacks your opponent, loses 3 life, sacrifices a creature, and maybe discards a card as well.
I legit have never seen that card. I'm just looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's from Modern Horizons. This is like what made Modern Reanimator kind of a thing.
Sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, and loses 3 life. You draw a card and you gain 3 life.
That bit as well. So this is kind of cool. Like it must be their way to play around surgical to an extent. Like you just go for this. It's a threat that can win the game. Or like, it's not out of the realm of possibility to hardcast it.
Well, it's 8 mana. Well, okay. Yeah.
Rituals and stuff. Yeah.
Is this like your 5th copy of Griselbrand then?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sold on it yet.
No, same. I'm trying to like kind of think of the uses for it.
Are you talking it up? Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I can see it potentially doing well.
Oh, we're doing good cop, bad cop on that guy. You're trying to talk it up, and I think it's just like questionable.
Yeah, I mean, you could play like a Grave Titan instead as well. Yeah,
something awesome. Second place, Lorenzo Loconte. Blue-green Omnitile. Looking at the list, anything special? Well, we got, I guess, 2 Uros in the main is already standard at this point. 3 Veil of Summer, 1 Intuition. The Impulse, which probably means there's going to be Firemind's Foresight. Wait, there's no Firemind's Foresight in the sideboard, but we still have the Impulse? Okay, whatever. Not going to question that, I guess. 2 Shifting Ceratops in the sideboard, I love that.
That's what jumps out to me.
I've seen people go down to that card and it always looks good.
Yeah, it does actually. It's kind of funny because it's a dinosaur. And it's always become like a meme thing, but actually, it packs a punch. 1
Eureka in the main deck, 2 Preordains. Yeah, this is... What's the creature suit actually? There's 1 Griselbrand, 2 Miracles. Yeah, we see that quite often as well. Awesome. Third place, Alessandro Chiarelli, Death and Taxes. Death and Taxes these days, there's just like so many things to pick from, but I feel like the best thing you can do is just like go with a couple of Skyclave apparitions and Spirits of the Labyrinth. Oh, we see 2 Phyrexian Revoker on that list. I haven't seen that card in forever in Death and Taxes. What have you revoking?
There's often 1 to recruit it for, but 1 has become fairly normal. But I really like this list. It's pretty straightforward. Not much messing around. I've been like on the fence about the Caldera Complete equipment, the new one that's not present here. Although I don't really see any new cards, so it might just be whatever's doing well.
Makes it very bad for a podcast episode when it's like super standard, run off the mill vanilla.
Yeah.
It's like, it has Caracas. Oh.
I feel like Death and Taxes, when you like, it has such a key core of cards that really depend on the curve as well. Like you can't cut a lot of the 2-drops because like there's so many 3-drops the deck can play, but you just can't really afford to because you can't cast your things. So I like it. 2 Spirit of the Labyrinth, big fan of as well. I think the card is still pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty standard, but it's just really solid, this list, I think.
I also really like the 2 Gideon Ellie of Zendikar on the sideboard. I don't know, I just love the card in this kind of deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
4th place, Andrea Riva, Bant Miracles, and I would totally expect this to be another super standard list, I guess. Is there anything you see? 3 Portent, okay, I guess I didn't really fully buy into the, what's it called, Abundant Harvest deck?
Yeah,
card.
True. Yeah, so there's no Abundant Harvest, is there? Which we do see everywhere online. So this is basically playing Portents over them, which is actually really interesting in the world of control. It's a very big difference because this deck wants to be hitting land drops. You have a lot of proactive plays, like you have the Uros and stuff. But I mean, if you're expecting a lot of creature decks, just maximizing Terminuses is pretty good as well. Because like the way Acererak describes Abundant Harvest, which has been fairly well accepted, I think, now, and makes sense to me, is Abundant Harvest is more like a land than a cantrip. So seeing the switch here, which, I mean, maybe to give the pilot credit, maybe this is not how they thought about it as well. They actually added some lands and played portents over other things. But yeah. I mean, yeah, Terminus still good if you can cast it well.
I think I've been Terminus like 5 or 6 times today by somebody who like, I faced 4 Terminus, and then I still like had a sizable board, and eventually they used Endurance to shuffle them back into the library and then used them again. And you know how the game ended?
How?
They timed out.
Nice, yeah. I mean, that's the classic Elves win con, isn't it?
Very much so. Like they even were very much aware of it, because they won the first game and they had like 13 minutes on the clock. In the second game, I think they scooped after like 100 seconds or something, because my board after the second turn was favorable, and they were like, okay, if I can either like play this for another 6 minutes and lose and then like never win game 3, or I can just like scoop on the spot.
Yeah.
So after the first game was like, I don't know, 20 minutes, the second game was 100 seconds, and yeah, then the third one they timed out.
I was playing a bunch of goblins last week, and I played against Bant as well, and I completely forgot that Endurance can shuffle their own graveyard in. So I was like doing the classic goblins thing where I was playing the massively long attrition game, like all my vials were getting prismatic ending and stuff, and I was just playing really slowly, like maximizing everything I can, porting all the time and stuff. And then, like, you know, I get them down to like 10 cards in the library. I'm like looking at their graveyard, like, God, they must be out of win conditions by now. Then finally comes the third Endurance, shuffles it all back in, like, oh my God, I'm going to deck before them. Brilliant. And so quickly scooped to save time. Yeah.
Awesome. So moving on, 5th place, we have Luca Romano playing Ad Nauseam Tendrils. And it has, oh my God, it has AV... Yeah, Progenitor Ooze. That's,
yeah.
I think that was the talk on Twitter last week. Like, how do you even pronounce that? I'm just going to go with Progenitor Ooze. That's
okay.
Ooze Storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. It's got a few other ones. It's got like a main deck Flusterstorm, which is good with Wishclaw Talismans.
It has Peer into the Abyss in the main deck.
Yeah. So I guess it's...
Are they even Infernal Tutors? Wait, I don't see any.
Yeah, there are at the bottom.
Oh, there's 4 copies.
It has the Peer over Ad Nauseam, I believe.
It does, yeah. I mean, at this point, like when you play... Well, I was going to say when you play Peer, then your mana cost is going to be like really high. But I guess if you play it over Ad Nauseam, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because it's the same slot. Yeah.
It got the Italian classic 2 Dark Confidant in the sideboard. This is something that the Italians just make work. Because a lot of other AMP players I know don't like it at all, and they kind of make fun of it a bit. But like, there's a couple of guys that top 8 a lot of challenges, and they always have confidence in the sideboard. Sorry guys if you're listening, I forgot your names, but yeah, I only see it in Italian lists. It's quite cool.
It's just like keeping your creature removal in the blind when you're playing against an Italian guy on Ad Nauseam. They also have Scented Swarm on the sideboard.
Yeah.
Oh, they have 2 Dread of Night on the sideboard. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's a card we haven't seen in a while, but the thing is we haven't seen Ad Nauseam Tendrils in a while in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on, 6th place, Daniele Kane, red-white painter. That's basically what people call strawberry shortcake these days, right? Unless there's like a weird build of it, but I'm seeing 3 Goblin Welders, 3 Goblin Engineers,
3 Sagas,
this one Canonists.
Which is cool.
2 Enlightened Tutors on the Sagas, yeah.
So what makes Saga like work in these painted decks? Well, first of all, I just love seeing painted. It's one of my absolute favorite decks. And so Saga is like obviously a great card for painted decks because they play a lot of artifacts. So the constructs are pretty big, and you can tutor for Grindstone, which is awesome. But there's some obvious like clashing with Blood Moon effects, and so Imperial Painter would play 4 Blood Moons very often and stuff. But here in Strawberry Shortcake, you very often just play 1 Blood Moon, and then you play Enlightened Tutors to fetch it when it's the right matchup for it. So this is the kind of style of painted deck that can afford to play as a Sagas, which I think is like, this is going to really make Imperial Painter played very little, and people will be playing Shortcake, or there's like kind of blue-red versions or mono blue and stuff. I just absolutely love seeing Painter do well. It's such a sweet deck, and it's a very, very real addition as a Saga. Like, it massively improves the deck. And what kind of sticks out to me here is 4 Lightning Bolts. It's becoming more common, but it wasn't common for a very long time. You'd have 4 on the sideboard, even during the Dreadful Darkness metagame. But now they're just like, no, we just need to kill these monkeys and these all these Delver threats.
You know what I want to see? Like, how awkward is it if Ragavan actually steals a grindstone and then, like, you never want to put Painter into play?
Oh, well, the funny thing's happened to me where I was playing this mono blue Painter deck and I played against it, and Ragavan hit a Painter and I had a grindstone in play, and I saw them like do the tap one land, paying for costs, and then like take it back and quickly realize it's like, oh, I almost got them.
Suicide.
Yeah. So the reverse, but yeah, could happen. So
this is for our like monthly Ragavan watch segment. Like, what's the crazy monkey up to this time?
Peter White or Power 22 posted a picture earlier of him like dashing in and hitting 2 carpet of flowers off Bant, and then like making 6 mana off them.
Yeah, sure. Sign me up.
Yeah, crushed.
Oh man. So yeah, Painter. I never really liked the white splash in it, but you're slowly selling me on it. I don't know.
I not either. I'm almost allergic to these card disadvantage tutors, but hey, Jack Kitchen swears by them, and so I'll trust him when it comes to Painter stuff, and I should give it a try.
Cool. Moving on, 7th place, we have another Death in Texas list, this time by Gabriele Saccarini. This one has the Caldra complete, which to me has been one of the most annoying cards I've faced in quite a while. You literally, like, you can't do anything about it, just like keeps coming in. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of me playing elves and not really having any kind of recourse against this card.
Yeah.
But
you could play Mask's Vandal.
Which one?
Mask's Vandal.
Isn't that... No, that's Master Majoras. I don't even know what.
It's a 2-mana 1/3, and it's a changeling, so it's an elf. And when ETBs, you can remove a creature from your graveyard to exile an artifact or enchantment.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I play it in goblins to deal with this thing. But yeah, anyway, so this has the Caldra complete, and 2 Give of Runes is pretty different as well. With the 4 Mother of Runes. I mean, I wonder if that's just like, these Italian ant players all play Dread of Night, so we need to play Giver of Runes. It's like extra metagaming.
I mean, what are you going to protect? You're going to protect your like Recruit
Canonist?
of the Guard afterwards? Okay, Canonist. Yeah, that's a card.
And Sanctum Prelate.
I was just like more wondering whether that's because, Blue-Red Diver is a card that has a lot of 1-for-1 traits, and you need to get rid of the Giver of Runes first before you start targeting something else. And
just more protection, more runes. Makes sense.
more you
runes.
Can never have enough runes.
Yeah.
Anything special in the sideboard? But 2 Cataclysms looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Sword of Light and Shadow. Sword of Light and Shadow is like not that common, so I guess they're expecting mirrors basically. The Pro White is pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it when you could buy like Crusade Prime Mages with it and Maverick, but the Pro White is probably like one of the bigger things.
Yeah. And
then rounding out the top 8, we have Fabio Di Bartolome on Grixis Diver. Now that's something. We former boogeyman of the format a couple of years ago, Grixis Diver, back in the hands of Fabio. What makes it Grixis here? What are we actually trying to do? Oh, okay.
This is really different, actually.
This is really quite different. Yeah, we have the core Diver shell of like Daze, Brainstorm, Forces, I would guess, Ponder, for expressive iterations. So you would think, okay, is this like going down the Blue-Red Diver route? We also have 4 Diver of Secrets, and no Ragavans, 2 Murktide Regents though, 2 Brazen Borrower, which is a card I absolutely love. And then I first thought it was like the value Setchmar Witch, 3 copies, but we also have 2 copies of Chain of Smog. So not only can you like use the Witch to put pressure on your opponent and slowly, grind them out with the trigger, you still have the 2 I win buttons in Chain of Smog, which I guess is even a card that, depending on how the game plays out, you can just like run into your opponent without the Witch, especially like once all of your stuff is on board, and if they copy it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. This is a hard one. Like, I don't know. I'm not massively keen on it. I do like it more that it has the Thought Seizers, so I could definitely see it just kind of winning the games that the deck has no chance of winning. But then, it's not a great card on its own, really, to be very polite. So, I'm not 100% sold on them, but I like the rest of it. Like, Sedgemoor Witch is very powerful. It's like a, provides a lot of value, and obviously when you're casting all your instant sorceries, going wide, the ward pay 3 life is very real when you're playing such an aggressive deck as well. Cool card, which I thought we'd be seeing more of it in the format, but at 3 mana it just has so much other like strong competition. In the sideboard, yeah, you do get like stuff like, oh, we see Meltdown and Shenanigans. They came for Affinity. But you also see, like, getting Plague Engineer is a pretty big game. It's just, like, good against so many things still. And what we're seeing here is a bit of a trend in the sideboards. I think there's a lot of cards which are good against Death and Taxes. So it's clearly a very popular deck in Italy still. I mean, probably is anywhere in paper, honestly.
And you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing 2 copies of Blue Elemental Blast. And I've also seen that on Magic Online every once in a while now.
Yeah.
Which gives you another out to turn 1 Ragavan, right?
Absolutely. Blue Elemental Blast is, I would say, better than Red Elemental Blast against Delver now. Like they have,
whoa,
yeah. I mean, you need to kill the dragon, so they're both good. But this kills Ragavan and the Dragon Rage Channeler, and like counters Expressive Iteration, which the other one does as well, to be fair. But if you care about countering bolts as well, like this is why I tried Mono Blue Delver over Mono Red Painter, sorry, because Hydroblast is so good at protecting your painters from bolts as well, and just killing the early threats. So. Yeah, I like the split. They're both just really good. And then you feel silly when you die with like the wrong ones in your hand, but that's how it goes.
That's how it goes, and that's the top 8 of the 4 seasons Bologna Legacy event. They actually compiled the entire metagame here, and you already alluded to it. There was a lot of combo, a lot of combo. Combo was actually the most played archetype by far. Like I guess we don't really have time to go like super deep into all of those win rates, but like looking at the overall meta share, like we have combo sitting at 30%. Like I would have guessed combo is usually more like 15, maybe a little more.
30 versus, sorry, Karen.
Yeah. Control 20%, Delver 17%, aggro control, which as well, I would actually class that as Delver, but I guess they're just doing Delver as their own thing, is 15% or 16%. Aggro is 10%, which actually makes me curious. I guess that's some kind of Eldrazi or something. Prison 4%, Ramp 1%. Like Ramp is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how you classify these decks, it's not always like super clear to me, but just like combo at 30%, that's something.
Yeah, massive. I would just never believe someone if they said that without the actual sheet here to back it up, because I would expect to see like 30% as Delver or Control, basically. Even that seems high. So yeah,
very high.
Yeah.
So what actually the most played combo decks? I would guess the most played one is Black Green Depth at 8 copies, Reanimator at 6 copies. I guess they counted Elves as combo at 5 copies. Bridgewine, okay, at 4 copies.
They pretty count Painter, Sneak and Show, Omnitel, and...
Yeah. And those are like 4 copies, 3 copies, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
But still, do you count Nick Fit as a combo deck if it's combining 2 cards together?
I don't even know. Is it Ramp? Is it Rogue? Is it a prison for itself? Who knows? It's Nick Fit.
Nice.
Still, most played decks, Blue-Red Delver at 90 players, Bant Control 17 players, and Death and Taxes at 14 players. I think in paper especially, you're always going to see a quite large amount of Death and Taxes just because it's the cheapest deck in the format, right? The cheapest compared to how cheap it is.
Yeah, it's cheap, and I think people do genuinely like it as well.
Me included.
Yeah,
I love that deck.
Like, I mean, I have a copy as well. It's fun to play.
I'm actually looking at all the like one-off decks. Like, what's the craziest stuff there? There's Smog Phoenix. That actually sounds like something.
Pox went 2 and 3. Land still went 0 and 7.
Sorry.
Madness went 1 and 6. Shardless went 0-2 drop. Enchantress went 1-5. There you go. It's for you, Julian.
I love that deck as well. Affinity went 6 and 2. Oh, okay.
Affinity 6 and 2.
They must have missed the top 8 on Breakers then.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a 5-round event, so one person maybe did badly and the other person...
Whoa. If this is 170 players...
Oh, no, sorry. It's 8 rounds. What am I talking about? Yeah.
That would be crazy.
It says
5 and out, you're not top 8.
It says 1 player right there. But if people want to look at this sheet, we'll link the tweet that has it in the show notes.
Yeah, it has all the win percentage. Like, you see, like, pretty healthy win percentages for, like, well, beyond healthy, honestly, like, Band Control at 59%, which is even more interesting because this doesn't account for mirror matches. So once you include mirror matches, your win rate is always going to gravitate a little bit more towards 50%. So if you see, like, 58% could easily be 60% or something, which would be absolutely crazy for a deck that is like it's the second most played deck in the format.
Just going to shout out the deck with the highest win percentage of decks with more than one player, Painter. Love it.
Oh,
that's so sweet.
I mean, the deck is sweet. I love Painter as well. It's one of those decks that's like all these small little things that you can do, right?
Yeah. And then after that, it's Stoneblade and Infect doing the best.
What's actually worse that still has a lot of players? Shadow, 38%, Burn, 36%, Other, 41%. I mean, there's a reason it's Other.
That's pretty high for Burn.
Okay, is it?
I don't know. I like to rag on Burn. I think it's pretty bad.
Stoneblade, 62%. Well, it only had like 4 players. Okay. I mean, we were trying to read stuff into numbers that are probably like getting too small at this point. It's like 20 wins, 12 losses. Like if you like just change 2 of those up, it's 18 and 14. That's like, oh, okay, whatever. But yeah, it's cool that we have those numbers. Like the most important thing to me, like it's cool seeing the win percentages, and for the decks that are the most played, there's something to be seen, right? But the most important thing to me is just like the meta share. And yeah, we have Blue Red Delver on top, Bant Control, Death and Taxes, and then Depth, and well, okay, Other.
Yeah, I love that one.
So 1 week later, there was another big event in Italy, and I think a lot of players just stayed and played the second event as well. You mentioned it was actually capped out at 120 players, so there might have been a chance this would have actually attracted even more players as well. And that's the Eternal Rise Again. We don't have the deck lists yet for Eternal Rise Again, but for all I know, they will be posted at least on the Discord. And well, we're also gonna like once they become available, we will put them on the Everyday Eternal Twitter at EternalMTG. And Callum actually went and got us the top 16 archetypes, so we can actually still compare those. First place was actually gotten by Valente Jacobe, which our information, our internal NSA agency, whatever, well, Tom the Decker told us, is actually the former Italian Legacy champion from 2018. And he played Blue, White, Red Monkey Saga. That's, I think, the deck that Arkan played like a couple of weeks ago that still had like the one-off Dreadhorde, Phyrexian Dreadnought. And yeah, he took down the event.
Yeah, cool to see the deck like do well in the wild, as they say, in paper. I guess it's what we've been starting to see more online as well. And as I say, we don't have the exact list, so we're kind of going off the information, but they did say Monkey, and they did say Jeskai cards, basically. So, yeah, pretty cool. As far as we know, the top 8 split, and then they played for the trophy, so he took it down.
Oh, yeah. This is what we were told, right?
Yeah.
They split, and 4 people went home, and the other 4 just like proceeded straight to the semifinals.
Or they went to the bar, I'd like to assume, for Italians.
That's what you do?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the other decks in the top 8, we have Burning Omnitel, Slow Depth, 2 copies of Blue Red Delver, Bant Control, Hogak, and Affinity. That's a pretty healthy mix, right?
Yeah, like you've got Hogak, and you've got Slow Depth and Omnitel as your combo decks. You've got Affinity as like a off-the-wall kind of thing. You got a few Delvers, you got Control. Yeah, very, very healthy.
Honestly, these days I'm not even sure what Affinity means. There's just like so many builds of it out there.
Yeah, I'm level 1. I'm kind of assuming it's the one that won the challenge with Esper Sentinel and stuff. But yeah, there is like versions with Springleaf Drum and Ornithopter and stuff out there as well. Could be like just so many things, as you said. It's pretty cool.
What I was wrecked by? I think I told you about that. By that, apparently it's like a port over from Modern that uses the Esmo blah 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 card that gets you like the Underworld Cookbook.
Which one?
Yeah. You know the one that nobody can cast unless you've discarded the card.
What's the name of the card? I can't remember.
Asmodaga Bajabaja.
Yeah, that one. Cool. Okay, got it.
And then something. And holy shit, dude. That deck, I haven't seen a complete deck list of it yet, but that basically like it. I don't even know where to start. So
yeah.
Can you explain the deck? This is way too deep for me.
Yeah. Okay. So Asmo is like
I got giga wrecked by it. Sorry, I need to recover. I have PTSD from it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful like kind of engine deck. It's exactly the kind of deck I just absolutely adore. It's made a big splash in Modern and kind of dropped off now because Blue Red Delver is just like crushing everything as it does in that format now. But yeah. So the combo is Asmo, blah blah blah. It's basically essentially 1 mana thing, but you can only cast it if you discarded a card. And when it ETBs, you search for the Underworld Cookbook. Now the cookbook says you can tap it and discard a card to make a food token. Oval Chase Daredevil is a vintage staple, thanks to Justin Canary, and it's like a 4-mana 4/2, and whenever an artifact comes to play under your control, you can return it from a graveyard to your hand. So what that essentially means is you can tap the cookbook, discard it, you make a food token, which is an artifact, and then you get to return it. So you tap the cookbook, you make a food, essentially. And now Asmo has an ability of sack 2 foods, deal 6 damage to a creature. And so and it also searches for a cookbook. You use the first cookbook very often to like play the Asmo. So you are essentially just like being able to do 6 damage to a creature every single turn with this engine. It starts to get really crazy when you have this like Academy processor or something manufacturer, which is like a 3-mana 1/3, and whenever you would make a food, a treasure, or a clue, you make all 3 instead. And so when you start making like foods with the cookbook, you make all 3 things, you're starting to generate mana, and you just really go off. And this deck has Urza as well, and you're making like loads of artifacts. Of course, you play Urza Saga, so you make huge constructs, and it doesn't really have a combo finish. Like you play Tezzeret in there as well, so the ultimate will often kill, but it's just a mid-range deck with these awesome engines that all work together and stuff. It's a sight to behold. It's really, really beautiful.
Their combo finish was, at least when I played against it, they attacked me with an 18/18 trample lifelink creature like multiple times.
Oh yeah, they have a Shadow Spear. I guess that can be like, if you want to call that a combo finish. So
it certainly felt like it. Like I attacked them 4 times with Progenitus and they still stayed alive. And then I thought I was smart. Like when they attacked, I was like, okay, I'm gonna Assassin's Trophy your creature. And they were like, oh, in respawns, I'm going to use Asmo, and this creature is dealing 6 damage to itself. Hey, I'm gaining 6 life.
So cool.
I'm going to do it again and again. And they get like 18 life on that turn, and then my next Progenitus set still wasn't lethal. I was like, this deck is outplaying me on literally every single level. If I could play this in paper against somebody who's never played against this, I could wreck them. I mean, I would need to learn the deck first, but that's always something that immediately attracts me, like wrecking people who don't know what's going on, because there's just like too many tiny things going on.
And this deck has put a new like line on my wish list of things to do in the format, which is Fatal Push, a Merit Lage token with a Shadow Spear in play.
Oh yeah, you can do that, right? Because it's not indestructible anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Or like whatever has hexproof. Unfortunately, does it get around True Name? Nah, it's like protection from everything.
No, you can't even target it in the first. But actually, doesn't Shadow Spear like turn off like tons of things?
It doesn't
target. It turns off like hexproof and indestructible. So I guess you still can target it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still sweet. That's a bucket list. But yeah,
if there's like a proper legacy list, we're gonna link to it in the show notes.
I do have the list. Yeah, I'll post it.
Awesome. You want to quickly mention the top 16 of that event as well?
Yeah. So this is like carrying on from just really cool and feels very balanced. So top 16, just in order of what was provided to me, we have Blue-Black Ninjas, we have another Bank Control, Blue-Green Omni, 2 more Blue-Red Delvers, a Grixis Phoenix, hell yeah, Sneak and Show, no bias, sorry, and the Turbo Depths. So again, we've got like some fair decks, we've got some combo and stuff. It's just feels really healthy. Like, you know, we've got 4 Delvers in the top 16, we've got 2 Bank Controls, but then everything else is like interesting and cool and different. So the format is just really feeling quite healthy to me right now.
Yeah, also I can only like mention again shoutouts to that Italian crew. I don't know if it was like the same crew that organized both of those events, but this is just amazing. And I think the VODs, they wanted to cast it on Marco Male's channel, but I think there were some issues with the internet connection, but they saved all the VODs and they should become available I guess this or next week.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of crossover between the crews. So yeah, huge shout outs to them.
Also, huge shout outs, they actually increased the prize pool before the top 8. They literally added, they added a banana to every player who made the top 8.
You really got me there for a second.
Yeah, Tom sent us well, I was going to say a screenshot, a picture of them actually handing out bananas to everybody in the top 8. You know, I just realized that's probably because of like a Ragavan meme, right?
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? I was trying to work it out, and it's like, it's just some funny Italian in-joke, but yeah.
I thought it was because like they had a thing, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, it's amazing. They had a table where they gave out sangria for every player who started out 0-2. There was a table where you could get some free booze. And I thought this is like the way to counteract the alcohol. They give you some healthy food like a banana. But no, it's probably a Raga one. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to hit up all of those events. Is there like any plan when you're going to do your London monthly events again?
We're in talks now. We're probably getting a new venue, just sussing out sizes and stuff. But basically, on the 19th of this month, all our social distancing restrictions are lifted. And our intention the whole time has been we're going to just only do it when it's like 110% safe, and we can do it without like worries of having to like organize it and cancel it and stop and start. So soon, basically, I think we're going to start having weekly Legacy back pretty soon. And
weekly? Oh god, dude,
yeah,
that's amazing.
It's coming home.
I'm just dreaming of monthly Legacy.
Yeah, it's coming home. So we'll have weekly and monthly Legacy soon. Cannot wait.
Do you ever get like French players who just like hop across the channel to play in your events, or are the events not big enough yet? Because like
No.
I think you had like 60 people or something. Is that crazy?
Yeah, we were basically selling out at 50 people because there was just space in the pub for that many. Yeah, we're always between 50 and 40 people. So the new venue is going to be
what we used to have like in 2009 when Legacy was like really big here.
Yeah, and we had some like weekly Legacies that were almost 30 people as well, which is pretty great. And I feel like we're going to get them back especially for the first few weeks when we finally get the weekly events going again.
Maybe we should just like take a Legacy vacation in London.
Yeah. Well, for our first big event, you have to.
Yeah, I really gotta. But yeah. I want to see. Like, I'm still due for my second shot. That should be like in 5 weeks, and then you should still like wait like 2 weeks or something, and we will see how it works by then. Like, you never know, but I want to. I want to see so many places. I want to go to Portugal because I've been wanting to go to Portugal for like years now. I want to go to Kenya. I want to go to London. Call me the super spreader, I guess. No, seriously, I probably won't do any of those except for like London. Okay, and then there's the Vulcan Legacy that Marcus does in Sweden. I don't know if he's doing it anytime soon, but
I think he said it'll probably be a
hyped.
next year thing. But yeah,
probably sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Oh, Callum, what are you gonna do for the rest of the night?
I had plans.
It's actually pretty late already.
Now. It's kind of late. It's 11. So similar to what you said earlier about work. So I have a kind of assistant, kind of replacement. I need to train this guy for about 6 months, showing him a new guy at work who started on Thursday how everything works. And I didn't realize how much I do or don't do at work, and now because I have to set a really good impression, I need to be working constantly. I'm like, holy crap, I need to do so much work, this is exhausting. So I'm now just like, god, working all day is really tiring, and I probably worked like half the day, 2/3 of the day before. So yeah, I'm gonna rest.
And this is how we set privacy mode in the browser, so we can browse internet deck lists, legacy deck lists on the internet without anybody noticing.
Oh, I do always have some like tabs open of all these things. Yeah.
I remember like in my very first year or something, there was like nothing going on. I still had to like kill an hour, and then I was like watching some StarCraft tournament, and my boss came in, and I meant to like close the tab, but actually maximized it on my screen, and was like, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah, my boss is like, about a year ago he said, Callum, I know you're very involved with your card games, and I know you really like them. I don't mind, just get all the work done. So I'll take it. That's good enough for me.
Awesome. By the way, did you receive your everyday channel package? I sent
yet.
you a bunch of stuff.
Ooh,
Not yet?
sweet.
Okay, it should really be with you like basically any day now.
Awesome, I can't wait. I will let the internet and everyone know as soon as they come. Can't wait.
Awesome. So if you want to get some of that, we have that as perks for our top tier Grizzlebrand supporters. Generally speaking, if you want to support the podcast, go on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Those are all going to be on the new website. Or head on out to patreon.com/everydaychannel, become a patron, join our Patreon, join our Discord, and yeah, have a great time. Other than that, twitter.com/eternalmtg and brand new-ish Instagram, also eternalmtg. You can find us there. I'm going to be posting a bunch of memes and announcements about the new episodes, maybe more in the future. And yeah, that's the best ways to reach us. You can find me on Twitter at itsjulian23. And Callum, you're available on Twitter on, help me out, I always confuse it.
Hold on, let me go on my profile and look. At WhiteFacesMTG. And so, yeah, Twitch, which I haven't streamed for ages, and I don't know what next is without the MTG at the end.
For me, it's twitch.tv/itsjulian. Shoutouts to everybody who's making this podcast happen, especially our Eternal Witness tier supporters, Tommy Hinks, Trent Browers, Testacular, Sebastian Holager, Guillaume, Jake, and Severin Schwarzhuber, and our Grizzlebrand tier supporters, Victor Bernatzt, Bajibat, Scott Monroe, Jeremy Gates, Henrik Korkutz, Tom Hepp, Bill Schlichting, and Paragon Games in St. Louis. By the way, Paragon Games St. Louis ran their very first Legacy event the other day. They I mean, they are run by our good friend Scott Monroe, and he put up the very first Legacy event there. And if you check out the deck list of the people, like he got 31 players, and the prize pool was quite sizable. I think it's actually more than you would expect for a 31 player event. And the thing that actually caught my attention was the second place deck list. It's Dreadnought Eldrazi. And have you ever heard about a card called Barrage Tyrant?
Barrage Tyrant. Yep, I know this. This is 5 mana.
How do you know every single card, dude?
I play limited. This is a 5 mana 5/3. It's got red in its casting cost, I think, and then you like sack a creature to throw it at something.
Yeah, that's how it works. It's actually insane. Like you get this out, like it's 5 mana, which is like so and so. It's an Eldrazi 5/3. But then you can literally, like, you get your Dreadnought into play. You just literally take the entire Dreadnought. Like, think about it on a flavor perspective. This dude takes an entire Dreadnought, throws it in the opponent's face for 12 damage.
I guess this also sets the deck up for a lot of turn 2 kills. We have, like, turn 1, Eye of Ugin, 2 Eldrazi Mimics, turn 2, Dreadnought.
Oh, that's another great one. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
because it's a colorless creature, so it triggers them.
I'm loving it. Is there anything else that's crazy in here? I thought this deck has just the additional reach you get through the Tyrant. I don't know if this is going to become the stock list. Probably not. Who knows? But I'm just loving the idea of, like, imagine you're sitting down and you think, like, okay, I got this game under control. They can maybe hit me for another 4, and then I'm gonna stabilize. And it's like, take this Dreadnought to the face.
It's very cool.
And by the way, my Mimic is also going to be a 12/12. Hits you.
Yeah. I love the Obligator as well. Like, this card is. I know Orim used to play it a lot when he played Eldrazi in different builds and stuff. Like, this thing kills people out of nowhere. I've seen him like steal Miracles and stuff. It's
Shout outs to the pirate. I was going to say to the pilot, Robert
pirate.
Smith, who apparently came up with this. This is amazing, dude.
Yeah, very cool.
I want to see more of this. We're going to keep an eye on Paragon Games.
Oh, and we got Merfolk there with one of that Merfolk god that I said was going to be great. So there we go. Told you.
Alex Lim proving us right. Yeah. I mean, we're probably right? This must become a thing. And
hell yeah,
it's
Alex
just
Lim.
Like too good
Love
to
it.
play. And well, it's not even a new tech, right? 4 Thassa's Oracle and 4 Paradigm Shift to just like win out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what you do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Event won by Jesse Pick on drumroll Brew Red Delver.
Oh my god, look at this. Like, really interesting. They got 4 Ragavan, 4 Dragon Rage Channeler. Do you think that'll catch on?
I don't know. There might be something to the Stable of Secrets. So I've seen the card a couple of times.
Could give it a go.
Interestingly, though, 2 Tarfire to enable the Dragon's Rage Channeler easily.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm gonna call it a day too. I need to catch some fresh air. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you again later this month. Bye bye.
Goodbye, everyone.